Good morning everyone. Basa tayo ng Bible. Leviticus chapter 13 ang babasahin natin in Matthew chapter 26 verse 26 to 50. Kabisado na. Regulations about infectious skin diseases. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when anyone has a swelling or a rash or a bright spot on his skin that may become an infectious skin disease, he must be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons, who is a priest. The priest is to examine the sore on his skin, and if the hair and the sore has turned white and the sore appears to be more than skin deep, it is an infectious skin disease. When the priest examines him, he shall pronounce him ceremonially unclean. If the spot on his skin is white but does not appear to be more than skin deep, and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest is to put the infected person in isolation for 7 days. So, parang quarantine din sa time natin ngayon, guys. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine him, and if he sees that the sore is unchanged and has not spread the skin, he is to keep him in isolation another 7 days. So, tama yung sa atin ngayon, 14 days. Kasi 7 to 7. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine him again, and if the sore has faded and has not spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only a rash. The man must wash his clothes, and he will be clean. But if the rash does spread in his skin after he has shown himself to the priest to be pronounced clean, he must appear before the priest again. The priest is to examine him, and if the rash has spread in the skin, he shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infectious disease. So, walang gamot. Isolation lang. Walang inanong gamot eh. Ipapronounce lang na unclean, tapos i-isolate ng 7 days, another 7 days, so 14 days. Walang binigay na gamot. When anyone has infectious skin disease, he must be brought to the priest. The priest is to examine him, and if there is a white swelling in the skin that has turned the hair white, and if there is a roughage in the swelling, it is a chronic skin disease. Yung una, infectious skin disease lang, ito chronic skin disease. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He is not to put him in isolation because he is already unclean. If the disease breaks out all over his skin so far as the priest can see, it covers all the skin of the infected person from head to foot. Nakalagay sa verse 12, guys. If the disease breaks out all over his skin and so far as the priest can see, it covers all the skin of the infected person from head to foot. The priest is to examine him, and the disease has covered him. So, noong araw pa lang, guys, ang priest para na rin doktor. Sila na yung nag-i-examine ng mga ganito. The priest is to examine him, and if the disease has covered his whole body, he shall pronounce that person clean. Since it has all turned white, he is clean. But whenever roughage appears on him, he will be unclean. When the priest sees the roughage, he shall pronounce him unclean. The roughage is unclean. He has an infectious disease. Should the roughage change and turn white, he must go to the priest to examine him, and if the sores have turned white, the priest shall pronounce the infected person clean, then he will be clean. When someone has boil on his skin and it heals, when someone has a boil on his skin, ano yan, guys? and it heals. And in the place where the ball was, a white swelling or reddish white spot appears. Hindi natin to alam kasi hindi naman natin to alam. Hindi naman tayo priest kasi or doctor. And in the place where sa verse 19, and in the place where the ball was, a white swelling or reddish white spot appears, he must present himself to the priest. The priest is to examine it, and if it appears to be more than skin deep, and the hair in has turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infectious skin disease that has broken out where the ball was, but if when the priest examines if there is no white hair, and it is not more than skin deep and has faded, then the priest is to put him in isolation for 7 days. If it is spreading in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is infectious. But if the spot is unchanged and has not spread, it is only a scar from the ball, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. When someone has a burn on his skin, and a reddish white or white spot appears in the raw place of the burn, the priest is to examine the spot, and if the hair in it has turned white and it appears to be more than skin deep, it is an infectious disease that has broken out in the burn. The priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infectious skin disease. But if the priest examines it, and there is no white hair in the spot, and if it is not more than skin deep and has faded, then the priest is to put him in isolation for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine him, and if it is spreading in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infectious skin disease. If however this spot in unchanged, inaano ko guys, akala ko may gamot. Wala pa. Ano lang, isolation lang siya. Kasi di ba syempre sensitive yung skin natin masyado. If however this spot unchanged and has not spread in the skin but has faded, it is a swelling from, narinig niyo dyan ko. Ganun lang yan. If, however, this spot is unchanged and has not spread in the skin but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only a scar from the burn. If a man or a woman has a sore on the head or on the chin, ako madalas kasi sa buhok ko, masyadong sensitive ang balat ko pagdating sa masanggi ka lang ng buhok niyan, magkaroon na yan ng pimples, o kaya alikabok. Ang tiyan ko talaga. Dito tayo sa 29. Verse 29 ng 13 Leviticus. If a man or a woman has a sore on the head or on the chin, the priest is to examine the sore, and it appears to be more than skin deep, and the hair in it is yellow. Wala naman, bakit may buhok guys? Paano malalaman may buhok? Wala naman buhok yung ating mukha. Is yellow and thin, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is an itch, an infectious disease of the head or chin. Inaano ko kung anong gamot. Kasi tayo, di ba, meron tayong pimples sa chin. Excuse me. At saka inaano niya guys, ang pinagbabatayan nila kung yung hair. Iniisip ko, wala naman tayong hair. Wala namang hair yung ating mukha. So, paano natin madidistinguish? Yung, meron ba akong hair? Wala eh. Yun nga, yung sinasabing swelling sa chin. Kaya lang wala namang buhok yung akin. Here it is yellow and thin. The priest will pronounce that person unclean. It is an itch, an infectious disease of the head or chin. But if when the priest examines this kind of sore, it does not seem to be more than skin deep and there is no black hair in it, then the priest is to put an infected person in isolation for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine the sore, and if the itch has not spread. Ulit, 32. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine the sore, and if the itch has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it, and does not appear to be more than skin deep, he must be shaved except for the diseased area, and the priest is to keep him in isolation another 7 days. Wala nga isi-shave sa atin kasi babae tayo. Wala tayong ganung buhok. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine the itch, and if it does not spread in the skin and appears to be more than skin deep, the priest will pronounce but if the itch, nalilito na yung mata ko. Bumalik doon sa taas. But if the itch does spread in the skin after he is pronounced clean, the priest is to examine him, and if the itch has spread in the skin, the priest does not need to look for yellow hair. The person is unclean. Pagka kumalat na raw guys. If however, in his judgment, it is unchanged and black hair has grown in it, the itch is held, he is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. When a man or woman has white spots on the skin, the priest is to examine them, and if the spots are dull white, it is a harmless rash that has broken out on the skin. That person is clean. When a man has lost his hair and is bald, he is clean. No. When a man has lost his hair and is bald, pagkalbo na, he is clean. If he has lost his hair from the front of his scalp and has a bald forehead, he is clean. But if he has a reddish white sore on his bald head or forehead, it is an infectious disease breaking out on his head or forehead. The priest is to examine him, and if the swollen sore on his head or forehead is reddish white like an infectious skin disease, the man is diseased and is unclean. Disease? The man is diseased and is unclean. Kayo nga magbasa sa verse 44. The priest shall pronounce him unclean because of the sore of his head. The person with the sons, isang lang siya pero ang haba guys. Nahabaan ako. Kasi inaano ko kasi nga masyadong sensitive yung balat natin, so nandito kasi. Iniintindi ko mabuti. Pero hindi ko maintindihan sa verse 44, nakalagay. I supported Trimonahan. The priest is to examine him, and if the swollen sore on his head or forehead is reddish white like an infectious skin disease, the man is diseased and is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him unclean because of the sore of his head. Oh, no. Excuse me lang. Hayaan ko na yan. Hindi ko naintindihin. The priest shall pronounce him unclean because of the sore on his head. The person with such an infectious disease must wear torn clothes. Let his hair be unkempt. Cover the lower part of his face, and cry out, unclean, unclean. As long as he has the infection, he remains unclean. He must live alone. He must live outside the camp. Oh, wawa naman. Regulations about mildew. If any clothing is contaminated with mildew, any woolen or linen clothing, any woven or knitted material of linen or wool, any leather or anything made of leather, and if the contamination in the clothing or leather or woven or knitted material or any leather article is greenish or reddish, it is spreading mildew and must be shown to the priest. The priest is to examine the mildew and isolate the affected article for 7 days. Maangalin siyang ko, hinto na raw tayo. Wala kasi ako naintindihan masyado dito, guys. Kasi nga yung priest lang ang mag-i-examine ito. Pero inaano ko kasi, inintindi ko kasi syempre. Ayan na naman tayo, pagbabasihan na naman natin yung yung kung may mga gamot-gamot dito ba. On the 7th day is to examine it, and if the mildew has spread in clothing. Pero wala akong nakitang wala akong nakitang gamot. Lang, isolate lang siya. Tapos i-announce lang na unclean, ganun lang. Walang nakalagay na gamot. Isolation lang ng 7 days, 7 days. Dito naman sa mildew. Hindi ko naintindihan to. On the 7th day, he is to examine it, and if the mildew has spread in the clothing, on the woven or knitted material, or the leather, whatever it is, it is a destructive mildew. The article is unclean. He must burn up the clothing, or the woven or knitted material, of wool or linen, or any leather article that has the contamination in it. Because the mildew is destructive, the article must be burned up. But if when the priest examines and the mildew has not spread in the clothing, or the woven or knitted material, or the leather article, he shall order that the contaminated article be washed, that he is to isolate it for another 7 days. So, ibig sabihin, kahit sa damit, or sa after the affected article has been washed, the priest is to examine it, and if the mildew has not changed its appearance, even though it has not spread, it is unclean. Burn it with fire, whether the mildew has affected one side or the other. If when the priest examines and the mildew has faded after the article has been washed, he is to tear the contaminated part out of the clothing or the leather or the woven or knitted material. But if it reappears in the clothing or in the woven or knitted material or in the leather article, it is spreading, and whatever has the mildew must be burned with fire. The clothing or the woven or knitted material or any leather article that has been washed and it is rid of the mildew must be washed again, and it will be clean. These are the regulations concerning contamination by mildew in woolen or linen clothing, woven or knitted materials, or any leather article, or pronouncing them clean or unclean. Pagka kaming Father God, pag luma na, tapon na. eh, pati yung tiyan ko nakikiano, 26 tayo ng Macho. Gano'n naman guys, diba? Pagka luma, tako mo na. Hindi, ibig sabihin lang, babilang lang ba damit nila noon at kailangan pang, what I mean is, ba't ganun pati damit ini-inspect, ini-inspection pa? Kung may maldo siya or what. 26 to 50 tayo, diba? Ang nipis kasi nito, kaya ang hirap siya yun na naman inano na naman yung pagiging manipis ng papel ng Bible. Ang hirap kasi guys talaga saan tayo? Up to 50, diba? O, dito hanggang dito. 26. Para sure. Yung buhok ko. Kanina pa yan. Sorry. Wala Hindi tayo tumitingin sa camera habang nagbabasa. Yummy siya. Maiksi. Pinaiksian ko kasi yan para hindi umano sa mukha ko. Tsaka naalala niyo yung na-murder ko yan. Ginupitan ko sarili ko. Pinaayos ko yun sa friend ko yun. 26 to 50. Ano pamagat? So, ito yung karugtong kahapon, guys. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." Tama, dito tayo sa 26 hanggang 50 tayo. Sinusure ko lang. Then he took, while they were sa 26 guys, umpisa tayo sa 26 to 50 ng Matthew. Today is 12 February. Bilisan na natin guys, oras na ng trabaho. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." Then he took the cup, gave thanks, and offered it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it anew when you in my Father's kingdom." Ulit-ulit nga, hindi ko maintindihan. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." Then he took the cup, gave thanks, and offered it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom." When they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. So kumanta pa sila. Jesus again predicts Peter's denial. Then Jesus told them, "This very night you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter replied, "Even if I fall away on account of you, I never will." "I tell you the truth," Jesus answered, "this very night before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But declared, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And Peter declared, even if I have to die with you. Nag-ano sila eh, nag-usap sila ni Jesus. I will never disown you, and all the other disciples did the same. Jesus agonizes in the garden. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, Gethsemane. Paano ba yung basahin, guys? Gethsemane or Gethsemane? And he made to them, Sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. Then he returned to his disciples. So nagpray pa si Jesus kay Father God. My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet now, not as I will, but as you will. Then he returned to his disciples. Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. Could you men not keep watch with me for 1 hour? He asked Peter. Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. He went away second time and prayed, My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and he went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is near, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. So alam naman niya. Pero nagpipray pa rin siya kay Father God. Pero ba't dito no, nagpipray siya walang answer. Samantalang yung ibang prophet, pag sumasagot si Father God. Jesus is betrayed and arrested. While he was speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer has arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him. Grabe talaga si Judas, oh. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, Greetings, Rabbi, and kisses him. Jesus replied, Friend, do what you came for. Friend ang tawag niya kay Judas. So, friend, do what you came for. Then the man stepped forward, says Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Sino kaya yung tinaga yung tainga? Put your sword back in its place, Jesus said to him. Yung companion ni Jesus na isa, hindi pinangalanan kung sino. Ay, lagpas na tayo, guys. Hanggang 50 lang tayo. Ayan naman tayo sa lagpas eh. Hanggang dito lang tayo sana. Jesus replied, Friend, do what you came for. Then the man stepped forward, says Jesus, and arrested him. So hanggang dito lang tayo, guys. Bye everyone. God bless.